Those who face eternity easily forget what a lifetime means, what an ending means.
You know it doesn't have to be this way.
No, Kunavine, it does. They need me.
Alright, welcome guys, we're back. We're doing Virtuoso. We're doing Elite Specialization Discussion Round 2, Electric Boogaloo. If you missed it, in the previous part, Boots and I ran through the full ream of information that we got about the Harbinger. This time we'll do Virtuoso. This section is going to be
we're going to do it faster.
Yeah, we're going to try and go a little bit quicker. The previous one we ended up doing like an hour. More than an hour. These ones we'll try and get them in half an hour. So the thing is, with the Virtuoso in particular, is they did a weird format on the stream where they did a lore section, then they redid the Carl stuff, then they just did a trait section. So this might be a little bit weird. Let's just play it through and see.
Do we redo the stuff from before?
Yeah, we'll go through it all. Let's get the complete package here, okay? This is weird, Boots. Eventually on my channel, there's probably going to be like this video, which is like a full look at the Virtuoso. There'll be one that comes out during the beta. Then there'll probably be an introducing series early on in End of Dragons era. And then, I don't know, by the end, it will probably look completely different.
You'll be a
again.
virtuoso.
It'll be ridiculous. All right, here we go. So, first of all, what's this lady's Indigo? Let's listen to Indigo.
Indigo, I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I assume it's Book, B-O-O-C-K. And I think it's a great name.
I've never heard the name Indigo before in my life.
As a Mesmer main, the Virtuoso is very near and dear to my heart, and I will say that as many times as I have to. I love Mesmer. I love how punishing and really unique the gameplay feels for it. And the Virtuoso is a really fun take on the class, and I'm really excited to go into it a little bit more today. Cantha is an ancient nation filled with culture, and what you get with that kind of age is tradition and heritage, and their combat and warfare is really no different. And the Mesmer is kind of the embodiment of those themes. At the monasteries in Xingzhou, they've learned to channel all of their telekinetic powers into their main hand dagger, their new weapon. And instead of producing clones, they now use all of that energy to create blades to aid them in battle. And the effect is very cool and really mysterious and very, very deadly. And Carl did a really great first introduction, but I know, Ruby, we were going to go into that.
All right, what do you think?
Well, I just like the idea of Mesmers studying at the Xingzhou Monastery as, like, mental monks.
Dude,
I like that idea.
I'm such a grouch. Listen, I criticized this during the POF era. I have to criticize it again. It's not... If you're just describing what a thing looks like, you're squandering an opportunity to give some new info. That's not lore that we just heard. That's just a way of describing the fact that they're Mesmers with daggers. Yeah, they pair it a little bit with the fact that Xingji's there. But, you know, what families, what people started doing this? What does it mean to be psionic?
The Xingzhou Monastery monks.
How does this pair with the singing and the musical aspects?
They meditate under a waterfall and create blades that cut through the waterfall.
That's a lovely idea. I didn't hear her say that. I don't want to have to make those presumptions and connect those dots. Give me some actual lore. I don't think that's real lore. Anyway, hopefully in game there's
You're
some
such a
cool
grouch.
Look, I want the game to be as good as I know the game can be. All right. Okay.
Gotta get more?
Yeah, so you all first saw the Virtuoso back on July 27th during our End of Dragons First Look event. Carl did that walkthrough and showed some of what the Virtuoso is all about. So before Cal expands on that, we're going to give you a refresher with Carl's walkthrough.
Are you suggesting I should just be overly optimistic about all of this so people click the End of Dragons link in the description?
Probably a good idea.
Hi everyone, I'm Carl McLean, a senior combat designer working on elite specializations for End of Dragons. We're here today to preview some of the abilities for the upcoming Mesmer elite specialization, the Virtuoso. Let's jump right into it.
I love his outfit.
To begin, let's briefly cover the profession mechanic changes. From the start, you will no longer have access to clones. Instead of creating clones, the Virtuoso will stock a blade on themselves for use with their blade song profession abilities.
Yeah, like we thought.
Phantasms will still initialize, but will stock a blade instead of creating a clone when they finish with their action. We'll have
This was quite interesting. I really like the idea of an animation of the blade flying out from the phantasm and appearing above our head, but it doesn't look like that actually happens. It just, it just appears.
some brief demonstrations of different ways to gain blades during this preview. Now, let's go look at the Virtuoso's weapon, the dagger. The first skill for the Virtuoso's dagger is a consistent projectile attack called Flying Cutter.
All right, so let's have a quick look. Carl will
Oh, wait a
obviously
second. The
talk about
auto
it.
attack gives you blades as well.
Yeah, now that's interesting. No. Does it? Does it stock blades?
It looks like it. It has a
No,
blade icon on it.
No. Okay, so it has the blade skill fact on it, which one of the traits means it interacts with, but that doesn't mean it gives you a blade.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm positive.
Okay,
It
okay.
itself is a blade, and I actually think all three of the weapon skills are that.
Wait,
So basically,
hold on a second. When do they do that though? They don't. When the skill fact, usually they have that in the description at the top, like this is a blade skill. They don't have it down at the bottom there usually.
they don't have like a full icon for it. Yeah, well, here they seem to have done that. So just send a blade of energy to your target, hitting the same target multiple times invokes a flurry of blades. So that's like an auto attack chain idea without actually being an auto attack chain, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Instead of a payout of a 3 auto attack chain, any target struck by 3
Yeah,
of
it's
the
not
projectiles
stocking
it launches
blades.
will receive multiple additional attacks on the 3rd impact.
Look at that. So yeah, so it's like you land 3 autos. Does that have to be 3 autos in a row, or does it just have memory for a really long
That's a
time?
good question.
The second skill of this weapon is Blade Call. This ability spreads daggers which pause at their ending point, or wherever they collide with terrain, and
So
then
that stocks a
return to the
blade.
Virtuoso for a second attack. If the blades strike an enemy during this ability, you'll stock a blade for your proficient abilities.
Now, what's interesting there is you would always expect to have some clone generation on your main hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now it is you get a little bit of blade generation on your main hand.
Right,
Here
of
you can
course.
see a blade stocked above my character's left shoulder. Then stocking a second blade shows another above my right shoulder.
Okay, they balance it. Sure.
Oh, I like that. So they go
Unstable
left
Blade
to
Storm
right, yeah.
is the third ability, dealing pulsing damage along its path and hurling blades at enemies
That
within
is-
its reach.
Very shiny.
Yeah, the visual noise on this stream was crazy to me. I actually think the trailer and the stuff that we'll see in a minute with CMC, all the animations looked a lot better. But for some reason, just on this specific section with the Carl footage, they all looked so bloomy.
So hold on, was that okay? That was something that was going out straight in front of you, but it was doing attacks to things
On the side,
really far away on the side as well.
I look at this as like Elementalist's lightning orb. It slowly moves forwards, and then all the little projectiles come off of the orb, hitting stuff on the side. But yeah, at a way higher range, but a slower tick rate.
Yeah.
Okay, let's use some of these stocked blades we've accumulated. Blade Song Harmony is the Virtuoso's most accessible blade song, expending each stocked blade separately over a period of time that deals damage to your target enemy.
Damn it. So yeah, your
Blade
normal
Song Sorrow.
physical.
Each of your stocked blades readies itself.
I'll say, by the way, I really liked the idea of like a throwing knives type thing, but none of the 3 weapon skills feel like I'm throwing knives. It's so magical and so phantasmal and so pink and bloomy that whole idea, like, I feel like Daredevil does better, to be honest, with one
Yeah.
utility skill.
It feels a lot like still Greatsword a little bit. It looks like.
Yeah, it's just that whole aesthetic, that key idea, I don't think this really paid off on.
Then launches toward your targeted enemy to strike
So
them
generally,
simultaneously.
This is
while
a
inflicting confusion.
this is a condition version one, but it
We'll
looks like
rebuild a few
it
of
does
our
a very
blades
little
after
amount of
this by
condition.
switching
Yeah, it's just
to
the
a great
same. It's the same as the baseline experience we have, right? Like Mind Rack, and then the next one's got a bit of confusion on it. You see it with the Chrono Swap shatters too.
then using Mirror Blade and Phantasmal Berserker. Blade Song Dissonance. Combine all your blades into a single strike that dazes enemies.
Did they
We'll regain a
change
full
it,
set
by
of
the
blades
way? In the past, you know how the days shatter for a short amount of time, I think it would like stagger dazes because the illusions would shatter one at a time. Does it not do that anymore?
No, it still does. It still does.
Okay. So this,
you could trail them in. That's on you, really. If you're point blank melee and you mirror image or whatever, and then you divert, they'll all blow up all at once. But if you trail them out slowly by like separating them with a staff, then they'll trickle in and it will daze.
So this
daze.
avoids all that, and this is all just one daze.
And in exchange, I guess you're getting the damage.
Using the utility skill Blade Renewal. Blade Turn Requiem will block for a short time and deal damage to nearby enemies based on the number of blades stocked.
I really like the flow of this presentation here, by the way. Sort of like doing almost like a fake little fight. But yeah, that utility skill that just recharges all your blades.
That's
I actually
very
really
strong,
like that.
and it's a block.
Yeah,
Or a distortion, is it?
I think it's distortion.
Yeah,
I
that's
think it's
insane.
3 seconds of distortion, yeah.
That's going to be that's the utility skill they're all going to take, essentially.
Yeah.
And this,
And you can see even in beta balance, you can see it's on a minute cooldown. Like they know.
yeah. And so this F4 though is no longer a distortion; it's now a block, but it does damage at the same time. So this is kind of interesting.
Yeah, this is a crazy. This is kind of like you get a nuke now on distort, which I quite like. It makes me wonder. Oh no, it doesn't make me wonder. I was gonna say if you get distort through other means like signet distort, do you then get? But it won't work that way.
Yeah, it's kind of weird though because there's so much ranged involved in these dagger skills, and then this distort is a close combat kind of thing.
Yeah, I saw some people upset about one of the traits, which kind of pushes you into melee range.
Yeah, I didn't really care that much, but I mean, I guess it makes sense for this story because you're only going to pop it when someone's like jumping on you and trying to kill you. You pop it as your normal distort, but it's a block now, and you'll deal damage to them while trying to get away.
Yeah, you flick in and out of different combat ranges so regularly in Guild Wars. I think it's kind of a non-criticism to me, but yeah. So the heal. Let's pause and do our own little version of this here. Heal yourself. Throw 2 blades at your target if they're stocked. That is. If the first blade hits, you lose conditions. If the second hits, you get Aegis and an additional random boon, either swiftness, or vigor. So I like the random boons thing. Feels very Lissa-like.
Yeah, I like the flavor of this skill. I like this skill a lot. I just don't know if it's strong enough.
It's a lot of healing.
It's a lot of healing on a 20-second cooldown. That's a good point. It's a lot of healing on a 20-second cooldown. The number of conditions removed, I don't think is enough, though.
I almost feel like the heal skill should stock a blade rather than spend a blade.
It's called Twin Blade Restoration, which throws daggers at enemies and grants bonus effects if you hit foes with them.
Or maybe it should be, for the competitive environments, I really like being able to counterplay heals, like counterplaying Infuse and stuff like that. Like Reversal of Fortune, when we get to the Willbender video, is going to be really cool to talk about too. I wonder if it should be heal half and heal another half if the blade lands. So I can like try and dodge his heal sort of thing to reduce his heal. I think that would be a really fun dynamic. So make it a ludicrously OP heal, but I can counterplay it by dodging it, you know?
Right. It is interesting, though, that even the heal skill is a attack skill.
Yes.
As covered before, Blade Renewal will grant distortion and fully stock all blades that can be used differently for each of the blade songs.
And you don't need to be in combat because blades stick with you out of combat.
Yeah, that's the big thing. So this is a good prep skill
Arena
too.
Blades drops.
Yeah, I'll be using that in PvE. I think I'll have
PvE.
That.
Yeah, or like World versus World, do a assassination kind of thing.
Yeah, so you got lots of front-loaded damage at the start. Either that or Signet. I'll probably have Signet for out-of-combat stocking.
Now the question is, how long do daggers last out of combat? Is it infinitely?
They're forever. It's infinite. It's forever.
So then you pop this 60 seconds ago, and then you have it up for your combat as well.
Yeah, you could double dip. Yeah.
Daggers on foes for its duration, punishing enemies that remain in its area.
To be honest, because of the world that we go into with like pre-prepping and stuff like that, I can almost imagine a patch for the Virtuoso down the line where they just give you the 5 blades for free on combat break or something, just to
I don't see
avoid
that
that
happening.
noise. I don't think it's a great change, but I think it's in line with what we've seen them do in the past. Anyway, this is a cool animation. I love this one.
Yeah.
I kind of wish the radius was a bit higher though, so it was a bit more intimidating on a node or something.
Sword of Decimation
It's pretty big,
is
though.
a single impact in an area to strategically immobilize enemies.
I also love this. Carl's description of it's weird, but that's double damage when they're downstate or CC'd. I love
Really?
that. Yeah.
Psychic Force is an area attack around the Virtuoso that pushes enemies away. And finally, 1,000 cuts as your elite skill.
Hold on, I know we agreed not to go back too much, but I want to see the mouse over for this
Enemies
Psychic
away.
Force thing. Oh, he's already done it. Hold on. Here you go. So, Rain of
Foes for its
Swords.
duration, punishing enemies that remain in its area.
Okay, Rain of Swords, yeah.
Sword of Decimation is a single impact in an area to
And it's
strategically
immobilized too.
immobilize
That's
enemies.
good for loading up their elite skill. And then
Psychic Force
Ah, he
He
doesn't
didn't do
mouse
it.
over it. He doesn't mouse over the
that's a
Psychic
shame.
Force.
area attack around the Virtuoso that pushes enemies
it's a good
away.
knockback.
And finally, 1,000 cuts.
Okay, so open a portal that... So the Elite. Open a portal that devastates targets in a line in front of you with a flurry of blades. 6
I love
hits.
that the damage tooltip says 11,600.
Yeah, I know, right? It's ridiculous. We of course don't know what his baseline power is here.
And it's a blade skill, right? It says blade, but this he's not doesn't have any blades on him right now, so I don't know what's going on there.
Well, again, it's because there's a trait that says all blades abilities gain.
Okay.
But yeah, 1200 range as well. This is basically Prime Light Beam with no CC, guys. That's how I look at this.
That's interesting. Okay, so they're blade skills, but then the utility and elite skills, they're called psionic skills.
Yeah.
Huh. Weird.
So they kind of have 2 categories they can play with.
Yeah.
As your elite skill is a fire and forget line-based damaging ability that requires foes to stay in its narrow path for full effectiveness.
This definitely
I-
should have been called Mind Blade.
I almost like... I really don't like the name Mind Blade Boots. I don't like it.
It's better than what did you say? You said
I don't know what I said. I've said a lot of rubbish stuff. Scion. Scion is what this should
no,
be
it's
called.
better than Scion.
No, this should be called Scion, and they should just change the tooltips to not reference songs and singing and music, because clearly there's no animation work or relevance to any of that.
Scion
just call
is
it the
stupid.
Scion. No, Scion is at least representative of what the goddamn thing's doing.
So is Mind Blade.
Yeah, but Mind Blade's... Well, only vaguely, though. How
All
is
right,
a core
whatever.
not Mind Blade?
Let's go. Keep on going.
Anyway, what did I want to say? Yeah, the Elite. I like the idea of the Elite being like slower ticking but longer lasting. I feel like it would be more distinct ability there. Less useful, so then you can, tune it differently to compensate. But I think that it would at least be a different feeling ability at that point.
But I like the idea of doing an immobilize
So
and
there
then
you have
popping that.
each of the abilities that the
Yeah, good
Virtuoso
point.
can harness for the expansion. We'll cover the traits another time. We're excited
No
to see how
slash
the daggers
dance.
fly when you get your hands on this burly elite specialization. I've been Carl McLean, and on behalf of ArenaNet and the skills team,
So-
thank you, and we'll see you again soon.
Just to let you know, based on the skills there, like I said, and I keep saying, very interesting. I like it. Very different play style from normal Mesmer, but I want more movement skills.
Yeah, I honestly think that thing looks... It's a lot like we were talking about in the Harbinger video, if you guys caught it. It feels like it needs to be it's very hyper-focused, and it needs to be very strong because, I think a lot of Mesmers are going to be surprised how weird and even bad it feels not having clones. Especially in PvE, I think a lot of Mesmers, they're like Ranger players. They don't realize how much aggro they've shaken off of themselves by
Yeah.
having AI all over the place.
Yeah.
And they just don't get it, especially if you've never played anything else. And that's all going to go away, and this will be that experience. Just like Rangers just had with Soul Beast to a certain degree.
All right, so thank you for that, Carl. And let's go back to Cal and expand on what
Great
the
time.
Virtuoso is all about.
Yeah, so Carl gave a great preview. There's a few more things we want to touch on. Obviously, we have the traits to go over. There's a little bit to touch on the profession mechanic, a little bit to talk about the dagger skills. So let's just hop into it. For all the theory crafters out here, this character has 2,120 power, so keeping you guys on your feet, it's a little bit different.
I left
so
this
keep that
section in the
mind when
previous
looking
video.
at Skill facts.
I like how
So
he,
the one kind of
in
important.
the third class with Will Bender, he mentions it again as a different amount of power, and he's like aggravated by it because he's like, why are they all different power? What's going on here?
I find it interesting just where they're showing this stuff off, by the way, that they're in a weird arena in Sunkra. Like, I think he did such a good job. Like, he's got a ball of allied golems to show off, like, the Harbinger elite. He's got this ball of enemy ones to show off CC abilities and stuff.
Yeah,
Like, on the
prep.
Willbender, isolating with the elite skill and stuff. It's so cool.
Note here that I don't believe Carl mentioned in the video is that we're going to see the blade mechanic is again very different from clones. Clones are kind of tied to a target; they kind of dissipate when you leave. Blades are not going to have that same problem.
Is it the
You're
skill
gonna be
2
able to
that
carry
goes
them
and comes
with you
back, or
as
is the
you
skill
move
3?
through
Yes.
fights. So I'm
2.
just going to run all the way out here and eventually get out of
pretty good.
combat.
I wonder
and
what the
we're gonna see
cooldown
that
is.
I still maintain 5 blades. So this is kind of really going to shift the possibilities for Mesmer, who is typically used to, you get into combat.
I really like
you
the
build up
Phoenix
some
mechanic
clones,
on
you
that
get
dagger skill.
maximum shatter damage, but here's an opportunity to have those already in place from maybe a different fighter. You just build them up while you're running around, and then you can just hop into a fight already 5 blades stocked and fire off maximum damage shatter. So that's a pretty interesting thing. I'm just going to hover some tooltips real quick. Carl went over all these, but again, we actually have the power number here, so get out your spreadsheets and calculate these power coefficients.
Get
I
out
won't
your
stay too long.
spreadsheets.
You guys can catch it in the VOD.
Math and
as we've already
avoid.
talked about these skills. I do have one more trick to show on Blade Call. Carl talked about how Blade Call, it's kind of that boomerang projectile. It comes back when it hits a wall. So if you're right next to a wall, then you have that much quicker return
Is that something that
time.
we have in the game already?
Right, yeah, so this is new. This is really interesting. I love this. I don't know anywhere that exists in the game yet. You
That is
fire
a
a
very
skill off,
interesting
it
mechanic.
hits a wall, and it comes back. Now, Boots,
There's a lot of wall
Just-
play in the game with things like Whirlwind Strike and stuff like that. Like with the Fire Greatsword 3, you go against a wall, you pop your Fire Greatsword, you're evading while doing a spin attack and doing a lot of damage because of that. So there's wall interactions kind of indirectly right now in the game, but this
that
is
they've
like
never
a
really
physics.
endorsed.
This is like a physics thing that they have not really done before, which is really interesting.
Right now, I think, Boots, I know I keep saying this kind of stuff. This, to me, looks like a window into something from a new Elite specialization. I can't imagine that they've built that concept, that idea, and they're not utilizing it in a fun way. Imagine something like super heavy projectile based that's like bouncing things off of walls and stuff and
That would be very
ricocheting them
cool,
around.
like the Bullet Storm something.
Yeah, and one of the icons has a bullet, so you might see whoever that is, whether it's Ranger or Warrior or whatever. I think you might find some fun stuff coming up with that.
Or
And
maybe
it
you
doesn't-
have a thief with movement skills that bounce off walls, so you're a parkourist.
It doesn't just have to be to be like little bullets and spherical things, right? It could be any number of things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and you might
Very
even see
interesting.
you might even see old updates to skills like Phoenix and stuff that start
Yeah.
working that way. So yeah, anyway, this is our first little taste of it.
It's a little bit more difficult to avoid or more easy to confirm all of your damage. If you don't have a wall handy, the
Yeah, I would
ground's
love
also
for
pretty
them to
close to a
update,
wall, so you can just detarget, throw
like,
these into the
stuff
ground,
that
and that's going to
comes
really
back,
speed up
like
the return time of this ability, much more
dagger
realistic to
water
confirm that off of a crowd
auto
controller
attack
from yourself
and-
or a teammate. This is
and
going to make
the
you
Earth Shield
just that much more
attack.
likely to
Just
maximize
because
your
if it
blade
goes
fall
through a
damage.
wall, it just disappears. Usually now.
This is a really interesting idea as well of throwing it on the floor.
Yeah, exactly. It's
I
just a Phoenix
feel
though.
the need to. So I think I got all
No, but he's not ground targeting there. He's
Right,
bouncing
he's
it off the
doing-
floor
he's
by
looking
using
down.
the camera. Yeah.
these tooltips. If
Yeah, you're
not,
gonna
there
have to
you
do,
go. Real half-second
action
durations,
combat camera.
get to that.
Yeah, exactly. Think about like fighting with action cam on, with like a longbow or a rifle or whatever. Think about some of these Heart of Thorns adventures, maybe people. That's a really cool thing to now have the projectiles bounce around afterwards.
Yeah.
Print screen APM going, and hover some more tooltips over
Someone
here.
goes
I
to a
believe we
kite
missed
spot
the
and you just,
tooltip
like, bounce things
for
off
the
walls to hit
Sunbreak
them.
here, Psychic Force as well. This is that powerful knockback cooldown that Carl showed. Might Fury. This is all.
I even think like strike mission telegraphs and stuff in the future, of fractal CM telegraphs.
Oh, yeah.
like the
Yeah, if
nightmare
you think-
fractal and stuff.
If you think you got
also
line
the
of sight on a
Sunbreak. It's
boss,
little bit
but he
higher
bounced things
cooldown,
off
but
walls to
that
get
is
you.
a pretty powerful kind of potentially fight shifting, break a stun, and set up myself with the CC as well.
Oh, here you go. He's mousing over the tooltip that we missed from before. I like that.
Knockback nearby foes. Okay, knockback 450, pretty big. It's a big radius too for the knockback.
What's good about this, I think, is it's a stun break with might. So
Yeah,
this
it's
is a CC on stun break, which is a bit like Bandit's Defense over on the Daredevil, which is actually, I think, one of the most overloaded utilities in the game. Like, one of the strongest utilities we ever saw.
Yeah, but look at this though. It's break stun, Fury might damage, big knockback, and the radius is 300. So this is probably similar radius to like the Guardian Shield knockback, I would say.
Or the Druid Glyph.
Yeah.
Pretty powerful skill. That is the Stunbreaker of the kit, and I believe we have one
Was that
more
glyph reworked at this
utility
point? I
in
can't
here
remember.
to get a power coefficient on. There it is, Sword of Decimation, and 1,000 cuts, of course.
So there you go. With a real power coefficient, 1,000 cuts is still reading 6k.
What
So,
was
I
he
mean,
running before?
Yeah, I don't know. On some of the press accounts I've had access to before, they've given us amulets with insane power. Like,
Still,
truly insane power. So he might have just had that loaded on because it's not his real account or something. I don't know.
6,700 is still pretty crazy.
So outside of that, let's hop
Yeah.
into the traits. These were totally done
Okay, I'm ready.
before the video. Some people speculated the traits weren't done yet. That's why we didn't show them. That's not true. We just I don't even know what the reason is why we didn't show these before. But the traits were totally already prepared. So let's just run through the minors real quick. We're going to see Deadly Blades. Blade skills inflict vulnerability on critical hits. So similar to the Harbinger, we're going to see a few different possible playstyles for the Virtuoso that are kind of outlined through the
Condy or
traits.
damage.
We're going to see the possibility to see power damage or condition damage, and alternatively a little bit of more utility-focused traits. Deadly Blades kicks it off as kind of this trait that can slot into any build. Blades inflict vulnerability. So this is referring to any skill that has the Blade skill fact, Flying Cutter, Blade Call, Unstable Blade Storm. There's
A little
lot.
boring. It's also a
But any of these
rehash of
skills,
something that
as
you have
they
in
fire
domination,
blades,
but it's not so
they're
bad.
going to trigger that trait as long as you critically hit. We'll see a little bit more of that on one of the adept traits as well.
So what I'm wondering about as well is how many multi-packet things we have, because there's no ICD or whatever there. So the multi, so like the Elite, for example, would stack a lot on.
Yeah.
And moving into Quiet Intensity in the Grandmaster slot, this is kind of that super fury that we've seen in a few places, a few different variations across different professions.
I like that the
Willingness
fact that
of
this is
Revenant,
baseline.
Vicious Quargon Ranger, kind of this enhanced fury. So Mesmer is getting the 30% critical hit fury, as well as a little bit of extra ferocity.
Yeah, that's a crazy minor.
Yeah.
Like when I think about the Super Fury on like Rev, it's like, oh, do I want to trade into it? Like I'm picking it. Here it's just okay. That's just what you get as a Virtuoso.
Renegade does have like a ridiculous minor as well. With the if you have full endurance, you have 33% extra crit chance.
Oh yeah.
But this is very strong as well.
This one isn't even conditional, and it has a
Exactly.
conversion on it. By the way, it's it's Vitality again. Build Vitality on a Virtuoso for Ferocity.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether I like that one.
I don't
so
like that.
much.
I don't understand why they put Vitality on there.
Yeah. I would if that was power. Oh baby.
Yeah.
If that was precision probably works.
Maybe it's
best.
just because you have baseline 1,000 Vitality, so it's something that you could just do there.
No,
Yeah,
but-
precision. Precision.
Get
makes
rid
more
of it.
sense.
Kill
You're
it.
right.
Kill it. It doesn't matter. This is a double trait, and it doesn't need to be a double trait. It's super.
Oh, I
Fury,
know why
that's
they
enough.
didn't do precision. It's because it's super fury, so you're gonna have less precision than you need to.
Or you could argue you want to be compensated. Look, you're right. You're probably right about that. But again, I go back to my main point. This is a double trait. It doesn't need to be one.
To really push that power damage. You're going to start in the middle because middle trait line is a little bit more power focused. Bottom trait line is going to be a little more condition focused. And then we'll see a bit more utility on the top. So let's just start with the power. Mental focus, strike damage increase against foes within the range threshold. Slight disconnect, but it's more pushing that more. You get more value out of the dagger skills by being closer, right? Like Blade Call, you get the full shotgun effect of that triple projectile. Unstable Blade Storm, a little bit slower of that moving projectile.
I don't mind this so
being
much
closer is
because
already a little
it's
bit
like
more valuable for this character.
making you be a little
and we're
bit more
just gonna
risky for
reward
that
that
extra
with
damage.
Mental focus being that close range damage multiplier. And here on the bottom we see a bit more condition focused. Jagged Mind, blade attacks increase. Blade attacks inflict bleeding on critical hits. So similar, Vuln on crit on the Master Tier Minor, bleed on crit here in Jagged Mind. This is any blade skill. So this really opens the door for a condition damage build because we saw all those blade skill facts across different skills. This is going to be potentially
Seems
a
a
lot
little
of
bit
bleeding
lacking.
application.
Okay, so I had one of you guys in the YouTube comments. I think had a really good point. I was initially quite interested in the whole like throwing knife bleed thing, right?
Yeah.
So I like that there's a Condi line here, but someone was saying, look, if Mirage is in the game, and you can infinite horizon, sharper images, all that kind of stuff. Who's really if you're looking to bleed the hell out of someone, you're obviously going to be picking that.
Yeah,
Like,
and you also you have the I don't know if one of the things you just mentioned is the one that pistol skills bleed.
No. That's the pistol trait. I can't remember what the pistol.
Yeah,
trait's
but there's
called.
another one there, right there. You get.
But I mean, that's not necessarily exclusive.
I just feel like you're going to be
this.
getting so much more bleed from any other trait in the game than this. 10% chance on crit for 2 seconds of bleed.
No. That's 100%. You're reading that wrong. That's 100%. But even at 100%.
Oh, 100%. That's much better.
Even at you're never going to compete with some of those other specs. Also, by the way, sharper images, right? That's your clones have a chance to crit. They bleed when they crit, right?
I am now in full screen, and I can now see it's 100%.
How does that trait get compensated when you have no clones? Is it actually illusions do bleed on crit, so you still get it just on the phantasms
From
alone?
your fan? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. In any case, when I view it that way, it's like, okay, who is this Condi line for at the bottom here now? Who's it for? Well, people who only own End of Dragons, or people who are just kind of looking for something a bit fun and a bit different because they're bored of other Virtuoso playstyles. And maybe that's fine.
I think that there is another trait that benefits from this.
No, I know that there's more traits for the Condi stuff, but even altogether, they're not going to be better than something else that is clearly going to be king in that space.
Well, let's hold our
No,
don't hold.
All right, okay. All right, ready? We'll see.
Yeah.
And finally up top, we have Blade Turn Refrain. Blade Dogs grant Aegis. So really powerful Aegis on Profession mechanic. Like, this would be very, very good.
So Blade Songs are the names of the new shatters, right?
I believe so.
Because you sing and there's music when you press them, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Right, that's why.
Good on Core Mesmer with the instant shatters. A little bit less powerful on Virtuoso as you do have the cast time. It's going to be a little bit harder to react maybe to something like Arcing Slice or Maul or these big incoming damage skills.
I like this. So look how competitively minded he is. That's exactly what the kind of thing I'm thinking of there.
I like this as well, but I feel like, for example, one out of the 4 of your skills is a block. What is the point of having Aegis on top of the block?
What, say that again? What do you mean?
Your F4 is a block instead of a distort now.
Well, this procs at the end of the cast time, so you'd be blocking
at
through
the
whole thing.
end.
Yeah, and then Aegis.
So you'd be
afterwards.
Okay, I believe you.
If you time it really well, you could still get that Aegis, or it's going to just enable you to kind of keep going, mitigate the next attack after you fire off one of those Blade Songs. And the Aegis is also going to be a little bit more valuable as we look at some of the traits further down the line.
I do like that.
I think this is like this is really good quality of life. I'm very, very keen on this trait. I'll be running this.
Yeah.
Care about blocking attacks. So pretty valuable trait there, if not as powerful as it could have been on Core Mesmer.
I do like that when they
Hopping
buff
into the Master
boons.
Wait. Did we miss a trait? Did he not do the middle one?
No, he did. It was the 15% on under 600.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, sorry. And what were you saying? I interrupted you.
I was just saying that the Aegis, I like the fact that they do things like that, like they buff boons that usually do a certain thing and then in this case they're going to buff Aegis so that when you get Aegis, use Aegis, etc., it does a bunch of other things as well.
Also, another thing, I think this is cool for Shatterstorm too, because now you're getting double F1s for more Aegis, which is kind of cool.
As will care about blocking attacks. So pretty valuable trait there, if not as powerful as it could have been on Core Mesmer. Hopping into the Master tier, I'm going to start with the power damage again. Phantasmal Blades. Common theme among these traits is you're going to see Fury. All 3 of them are going to grant you access to Fury, which plays into that Grandmaster Minor, giving you the kind of Super Fury enhancement. So Phantasmal Blades, Phantasm give you Fury, and also Launch a Blade. This one's a little bit tricky for all you Theory Crafters, because I believe it uses the Phantasm Weapon Strength for this skill fact, so have fun finding that one.
By the way, so that's also a blade skill fact. So that would combo with the other trait we looked at a second ago, which is
it launches a dagger at your target when you summon a phantasm.
And then the dagger would do whatever the other interaction was a second ago. By the way, I think this is actually my favorite trait on the Virtuoso, just in terms of like, there's a cool new like little experience to be had.
Not my
and
favorite,
modification.
but it is interesting, and I like that there's no internal cooldown, so you could just do all your phantasms as quickly as possible.
I say that, I make that comment completely irrespective of the balance and tuning. That's a separate story. It's just, I think that's the flavor of that, the idea of that, I think is really cool and really fun.
because I believe all the Phantasms actually have different weapon strengths. I was testing this a long time ago. I noticed some different weapon strengths among different Phantasms, so that's a fun one. On the bottom here for our condition damage players, Sharpening Sorrow, Fury on Bladesong Sorrow, that is the Cry of Frustration replacement. So a little bit of Fury off of that, a little bit expertise, condition damage, Rejoice.
So that's a weird one. That's the Condi line.
Yeah.
And it's just a little bit of extra Fury.
I mean, instead of getting Fury every time you summon a Phantasm, it's Fury on F2. And then some expertise.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. Especially for PvE, it's so easy to get Fury everywhere. You know, just put on some pack runes or something.
Sorry about my voice. I just swallowed something the wrong way.
No worries. I think that that's kind of an interesting trait that even though it's in the Condi line, I can imagine mixing and matching that even if I'm on like a power build or whatever, you know, or like whatever other traits I might be going for.
Then back up top, we have Duelist Reversal.
Here you go. This is an interesting one.
So pretty powerful option here, giving you quickness and Fury, again, Fury, but quickness, big neon sign around quickness, probably. Blocking or dodging attacks. This plays really well with Blade Turn Refrain.
And that's with no boon duration.
Aegis, obviously.
Yeah, Boots, this is insanely OP. This is the most OP trait ever.
It's not giving it to other people, so it's just yourself, but it is very, very good.
This is what makes me want to play this in PvE.
Yeah.
100% I'll put this. This is permanent quickness uptime for you. As long as you're just blocking every now and then, which is the only time that it matters, really. I mean, it will be dropping off. But you're right, there's no boon duration there either, so you put a little bit of boon duration on. You're a big booster of Selly builds at the moment. I completely agree with you. They're so strong. Imagine just putting a little bit of
and it's permanent Fury too. So, like, I'm wondering about the bottom one again, the Fury
because
on
the
F2.
Fury there is clearly worse than the Fury here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, like, way worse.
This should just be quickness, not Fury as well.
I mean... They put Fury on it. They put Fury on as well because there's Fury on every single one of these.
Right. I see. This is just so much in every context in the game.
Yeah.
I would always run this in every. Well, sorry, except in a strike mission or an old raid.
Because on top of that, think about it this way: running the Aegis trait in the first thing. Your F2 is giving you Aegis. So your F2 is giving you Fury anyway with this. It's like, it's only 3 instead of 5 seconds. But it's just, anyway.
Oh, well, as long as you block. What if you want to precast the Fury? It's not working there. Also, not to mention you can put Chaos on, and the Grandmaster in Chaos gives you Fury.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
Anytime you dodge, get access to quickness.
These ones seem wonky, actually.
A lot of quickness uptime because you have access to a lot of blocks, a lot of Aegis, a lot of dodges. 2 dodges on this character.
Clearly, that's the strongest, though.
The top line is looking king by far right now.
Why do we ever give Mesmer 2 dodges? So, Duelist Reversal, playing against this character, if you know they have that.
But I mean, it is.
Great equip. Maybe you want to front load your abilities a little bit more.
It's king for general quality of life, being happy about your build, etc. But if you want to just do an insane amount of damage, it's possible that the middle trait line is the way to go.
Yeah, I mean that's fair and that's fine. We already see that a lot in Guild Wars at the moment, which I like. I like that the open world builds are very, very different to when you've got the support.
Push through that cooldown, force them to dodge multiple times within that 3 seconds. You're only going to get the single quickness application there, but quite powerful. Then we're almost done. I believe, I covered all those. So we'll move into the Grandmaster traits here in a second.
Okay, I asked you if the Harbinger. Do you remember the Grandmasters?
For this one, yes, I do because I know exactly. Oh, I don't remember exactly what they do, but I remember the theme of all 3 of them.
Okay, I've completely forgotten all 3 of these again. So
the theme of all 3 of them is blade generation.
Oh, okay. Oh, I remember one now. Now that you said that, I do remember one. One of them's like eternal life. Another
common theme amongst all 3 Grandmaster traits is that they're all going to be pushing that blade generation or clone generation that Mesmer really wants to see, and especially Virtuoso, as we've increased the cap up to 5, really looking for even more access to clones or blades in order to push those kind of full power shatters. Starting off up top, we're seeing Psychic Riposte. Block or dodge is going to stock a blade. So this, and something we're going to see here is that these are probably a little bit above rate again to some of the other clone generation traits that you see on Core Mesmer. Compare this to something like Deceptive Evasion, where on dodge you get a clone. Obviously that one doesn't need to actually successfully dodge an attack, but every dodge gives you a clone with Deceptive Evasion. Second
this is okay.
cost, you get dodging an attack or blocking an attack, so quite a bit of clone generation is possible with Psychic Riposte. You also get a little extra blade throw in there, get some trait triggers, why not? But I think the big value of this trait is going to be the amount of blades that you
1
can
second
potentially
cooldown
generate,
just so
especially-
that your F4 doesn't generate 100 blades at once.
I like this thing where it fires a little bit of damage back while you're in the dodge roll. After the dodge engineer build was so aggressive for people for so long, the Minesweeper NG. I missed Minesweeper NG, by the way. I sort of feel like you're spending a resource, you're spending endurance.
I mean,
It
it's
is a
still
resource.
kind of there, though, right? Because now when you dodge, you have a trait that gives you your explosive entrance again.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, people didn't like that they were dying while the NG was in Vuln, essentially, during those frames. At least with this, you can wait for after his dodge, then dodge his first attack and miss the explosive entrance. Anyway.
You're looking at traits like Blade Turn Refrain, looking at the block coming out from Blade Turn Requiem, and obviously just dodging well. As long as you're dodging attacks, you're going to be able to generate a lot of blades.
But again, 1 second
yeah,
cooldown just so it's not busted.
I almost don't like this Grandmaster because I think that's so much generation, especially when paired with like Deceptive Evasion and stuff. Like, what I'm really excited about with the Virtuoso is the 5 ammo cap and the idea that I can spend a ton of these blades. I want this idea where it's like clone generation is the hot thing for this. So like all those earlier and other areas of Mesmer now are revitalized and really interesting because I didn't really care about them before, but now it's like generate, shatter, generate. That's the side of it that I really want to see because it props up some earlier areas of the profession. But then if you just give me a trait within the Virtuoso that solves all those problems for me straight away, or goes a long way to solving those problems, it kind of takes the magic out of it a bit, you know?
I think because you have 5 instead of 3 and a lot less defensive capability, I think you need these 3 Grandmasters to generate this much blade for you.
Well, this will be something I really want to get a sense of in the betas, but I'm worried that, like, what I want to do while playing is that I want to be hungry for more. And I want to look back to core Mesmer stuff because I'm hungry. I'm scared that these Grandmasters will mean that hunger's never there.
The hunger will still remain because, now just think about it this way, with one of these Grandmasters generating a blade every second or maybe every half a second, depending on what you're doing, put on your Signet heal and take that trait that says every time you generate a clone, you heal yourself and profit.
Yeah, so it's every time you generate a blade, you heal yourself?
Oh, yeah.
That's a cool idea.
You can also just run Deceptive Evasion with this as well.
There's an inspiration GM as well for that.
That's what I'm talking about, yeah.
Blades per dodge, really powerful option. This is going to potentially create a lot of shatter potential for this character, or blade song potential. Why not? Interchangeable.
One interaction I'm suddenly wondering about in editing here, guys, is on Classic Mesmer, if you have 3 clones up already, and then you generate another, you'll get all the on-proc effects. It will just replace one of your existing clones with a new one that will like spawn on your body or wherever it was supposed to be. Will that still happen with blades? Will you be able to cycle blades, or do you only get rid of them by spending them, and otherwise generation is disabled? Yeah, I want to see the blade song cooldowns, the new shatter cooldowns lower as well, so that I can spend as many blades as possible.
I'm going to say clone every time. I'm going to say shatter every time. Blade turns, clones, blade songs. It's all very confusing, but it's all mechanically.
It is all very
we all know
confusing.
what we're talking about here. Then moving into the middle, we have Infinite Forge. So this one is a little bit less bursty. This is more of like a more sustained clone generation trait. Over time, just being in combat, you are going to be able to build up some amount of blades.
So this is just
every
one
3 seconds.
every 3 seconds, and you don't have to do anything for it.
Yeah, this is just giving you baseline. This is like, to me, it feels like Eternal Life for Necro, where it always ensures you have a baseline amount of Shroud. Oh my god, Eternal Life Harbinger, by the way.
Yeah.
It will lose all of its... That's for that video, I guess. But that's a cool concept. Anyway, yeah.
Seconds up to a threshold. So there's a little bit of play here where you're not going to be able to immediately burst up to 5.
If you're running
burst
this
up to 3,
with those heal traits that I just talked
sources,
about, it's like 700 healing every 3 seconds to 1,000 healing every 3 seconds just for nothing.
you're going to lose some of the value from Infinite Forge. But if you're looking for more of that deliberate, a little bit slower paced, really just maximizing your clone generation, as you sit here with Infinite Forge building up clones, you're going to have access to the ability to shatter pretty frequently for a solid amount, and you can also stack, like bring in your decoy, your mirror images. Once you get up to that 3 threshold, burst up to 5, fire off your blade song, and get a lot of value off of that. Then finally, leaning more into the condition damage builds, Bloodsong here, increased bleed damage.
By the way, before I forget to mention this elsewhere, Bloodsong was a Guild Wars 1 Ritualist Spirit skill that they've inspired for this trait name. I don't know what that says about the future elite specs and what we might see say on Rev, but there it is.
Just a nice little bonus on top. This is also going to give you a blade whenever you stack 5 bleeding on a single target. So this is all sourced from the Mesmer. Applying a bleed to a target with 4 bleed stacks from someone else, not going to do anything for you. Probably a little bit more balanced that way.
That's quite a lot of bleed they're asking for.
They're asking for a lot, but with that, like, we're going back to that first trait that you nix so much, you're going to have a lot of blades. You're going to do a lot of bleeding.
Yeah, so I do like the idea of the synergy between all 3 of those.
I think this is more of a PvE skill.
Right.
Because if you're doing like a condition damage Virtuoso and you're basically going all bleed, you're probably going to be stacking 5 stacks of bleed every second at the worst, I'm guessing.
I like the idea of running this with the bleed sigil as well.
Yeah.
Just try and proc it as much as possible.
Yeah, so clone a blade every second essentially, and maybe even faster. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I really like this kind of idea of like an engine where the bleeding helps the clones, the blades, and then the blades help the bleeding, and then you just try and cycle up as fast as possible. And eventually the thing that would be limiting you is your F skills, your F skill cooldowns.
Mm-hmm.
But again, bleeding stacks per blade 5. That seems very conservatively balanced to me.
It definitely doesn't seem like something that might be very strong in PvP, for example.
No. Well, there you have it. That's
but
the last GM then, isn't it?
Something that's going to generate potentially a
much
lot
faster
of
than the other one.
So that's the whole thing. That's the Virtuoso. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Let us know what you think about some of this stuff. Boots,
what are your general feelings about Virtuoso versus Harbinger, for example?
I don't know. I think I'm more excited about Harbinger than I am about Virtuoso.
Me too. But I think that's only because there are certain elements in Harbinger, and when we get to it, Willbender, that seem like they could be abused and busted. And Virtuoso doesn't seem like it could be abused too much. It just seems very balanced so far.
To me, I think the reason I'm a little bit more excited about the Harbinger is the difference in playstyle or build feels really big. Meanwhile, no matter what kind of Virtuoso I'm playing, no matter which of these lines I'm going for example, I think they're all going to feel pretty similar. And I don't know, maybe it's the fact there really is no mobility here. You know, I talk a lot about there being too much. I talk a lot about there being too much mobility in the game and stuff, but it really feels very stationary, just sort of fire off lots and lots of blades. And
yeah. I honestly, I'm going to keep harping on it. I think that the dagger attack skills need some mobility to them in order for this class not to get destroyed.
This is interesting. I'm curious about this. And I'm less inspired about the core Mesmer interactions too, suddenly. Man, I think what I really want to see is a Virtuoso trait about reducing blade song cooldowns. I really just want that sense of a blade spammer. Like an unlimited blade... someone who is only limited by his blade songs because he can't generate enough blades. I think as soon as that's there, I'll be really keen on it.
I really don't mind that idea at all because of the fact that the blade songs have cast times rather than instant cast.
Right, yes. Yeah. And then just the cool idea of flowing all these nice animations next to each other. I think that's what I'm interested in. But yeah, mostly I just kind of want to play this power, and I'm a little bit curious about the Condi line. That's it, really. That's it. And that middle tier of traits feel really imbalanced to me. Really imbalanced. So yeah, what do you guys think on this one? It's gonna be an interesting one. So thanks very much for watching. We have one more to do. That's the Willbender. Feel free to tune in on that, and we'll see you very soon. Take care now, guys. But it's probably not too long away for now. Bye bye.
Yeah.